Welcome everyone to another episode of Black Metal Legends. Today we have Svartalv, who is the frontman of Nocturnal Breed and of the main man behind that. He's also spent some time in Gehenna, and he's going to be part of their upcoming shows soon as well. And he's also the lyricist for 1349, which, as you know, is my favorite band ever. So of course I had to have him on board to chat about that, of course. And he's also played with Satyricon back in the early days of the band. So it's a great honor and privilege to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's a privilege for me as well.
Let's quickly discuss the Gehenna stuff quickly, because it was a bit of a surprise, like you joining back in the band and then shows popping up again. Like, what was the story behind it, and how's the rehearsals and everything going so far?
The story behind it is basically it's been kind of flowing around. We had a microscopic 5-minute talk about it at Nocturnal Breed's late guitarist Ben Helen's funeral 2.5 years ago, where Sandrab and Dolgar kind of approached me about like the idea about it, and I said I kind of had to think about it, and there's a lot of kind of like back and forth. And just about a year ago, we had a podcast with my good friend Jackie from Into the Necrosphere, and he had been really kind of like on me about like getting the guys together and trying to get an interview. And in that kind of process there, something kind of happened, and we sat down and we had a long interview with him. And after that, it just kind of just spiraled immediately straight into kind of like, okay, let's fucking do this. You know, it didn't take many weeks at all, because it's been on everyone's minds. And Sandrab has been doing Gehenna, but it's been doing like the Gehenna part 2, if you want, you know, and he has been doing that full out. And there's been some frustration from fans and people about, you know, why haven't you played the old songs, and, you know, kind of diving into that, the 3 first albums kind of thing. And he's just kept away from it because it is impossible to do it unless you do it with the people that, like, yeah, the original people, you know. So we just kind of waited till it kind of worked out for everyone, and we got like all the little details. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be in place. You know, I live on the opposite side of the country, and there's a lot of back and forth. And it just kind of worked out, and now we're gonna do the show. So we're in like full production mode, and I'm rehearsing every day. I'm going to the West Coast in a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna stay there, you know, for half the summer, and then go to Bergen and do this thing. And the rehearsals are great. It sounds like fucking Gehenna, which this is supposed to do. You know, it's like there won't be no, you know, oh, we're gonna do this fancy new fucking version. You know, there won't be none of that stuff.
Yeah, gotcha. Because, like, admittedly, like Gehenna was never. It popped up on my radar when I was like growing up and stuff, and I never really understood it, because there's, like you said, there's like the early stuff, and then there's like the later Gehenna era, and you know, I never found myself like kind of capturing me until we had that chat at Inferno. And then I was like, okay, let me actually put this on again. So I've been going through like some of the early stuff as well, and then First Spell finally clicked with me, because what I found with it was that it's a journey. Each song feels like a quest or a journey. Like there's like you're in the middle of a kind of a quest, almost like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing is one way I can say it. Where it's like you're in the journey, you're trudging along, you're going through all of these like different places, and then it finally clicked when I was driving. It's like, yes, I'm on a journey. I'm going somewhere. Let's go. This is the soundtrack for that. And you know, having that kind of sort of mystical sort of sound to it really was like, okay, yeah, this is why people really liked it. Like it just clicked for me, and it took a long time. Like, admittedly, a long time. And going back to say like First Spell, what was the general writing process for that? Was it like you guys just got together in a room and just like jammed out ideas? Was it a bit more kind of organic and jammy, or was it just like a bit more prepared? Like, just tell us a bit more about the story of how you created those songs back in the day.
The first Bill songs, a lot of that came from Sanrab, and then a good part from Dolgar. And I had just joined the band like a half year before that, so it's I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe because we lived that band every day, every second. High school and shit didn't really matter in our lives. This was the focus. So we met. We had a rehearsal place in Sunrob's basement, and he had a really cool dad who just let us be down there. You had to have like pants or the fucking boots on because there was broken bubbles everywhere, and knives and cigarette butts, and it was just like total fucking punk place. And we were in the start, it was only three of us, Dolgar, Sunrob, and me. And so by the time I came from school, I got on my bike, drove down there. One of them was sitting there playing a riff, and they had a couple other riffs. And within about a day or two, we had a song. So we kind of jammed it out, but mostly the ideas really come from Sanrab, and then Dolgar does his thing around him, like or almost like an orbiting kind of satellite kind of thing around him. And I don't know what I add. In that period, I added, I had some equipment, so we finally got a drum machine, so we can kind of like actually play through the songs and program and do that whole thing. Like this is before Dirge joined the band. And immediately when Dirge joined the band, all the songs you hear now on First Spell like really took form immediately. So it's organic, but in the sense that we were hanging out every day together. And if we weren't playing, we went out, in the forest behind the house and sitting there, built little kind of shelter kind of things and had the fireplace and drank beer and looked at the vista. It's different from like just going to rehearsal once a week kind of thing.
Mm. It definitely sounds like, going back to the sound of the album, it definitely sounds like it's from a somehow connected in a way. And it's I don't want to, and it's hard to use, and I'm trying to find the right words to be as accurate as possible, but it's like everything feels honest, and
It
everything
is
feels
very
honest.
honest.
Yeah,
It is very honest and it's very heartfelt and true, if you
yeah,
want to use that fucking thing.
yeah.
Because it was 24/7. It's what we thought about. Every fucking sentence and word and tone and note and the looks and everything has been debated up and down and back and forth and really thought about. Also because like those early bands like around us, like Emperor and Enslaved and Dark Throne Mayhem, all these bands around us, it's high fucking standard. And to not that we actually try to be something we call dark metal, so we kind of like drifted in our own really kind of like tight little sphere. We didn't hang out with any other bands mostly, and we just kept to ourselves. But the standard of the music in the very early black metal scene was so high that we really turned every word around and every note around and got so into the occult part of it too that it becomes real. That's one of the clues with occultism is you have to do it properly. You have to do it properly from your heart, or
Hmm.
else it's just like the million people you see on Facebook being occultists. Fired to the music like very easily. We didn't have to do other things than then just tap into the fucking feeling we had inside.
Yeah, sure. And that was going to be one of my other questions. Is like, what, where did that dark metal term come from? Like, was it just something that was said out there, or was it kind of like these guys are doing black metal, but we're going to do dark metal kind of thing? Like, just yeah, I just want to hear more about that kind.
I don't. We didn't look at any other ones for the term dark metal. It just felt more suitable since we were doing it very occult and not like hyper satanic. Or hyper, northern, winter Blashirk storm kind of thing. So we felt like we were in our own thing and doing our own thing, and we wanted to create something separate from the scene. We never been like in love with the scene in that sense. We hate people, also people in the scene. So why fucking hang out with everyone? It's not we're not doing this for the kumbaya effect, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah. So we just kind of clustered together and had a few friends around us that were like us, and that created that whole let's do it, dark metal to kind of like set it aside a little bit, still being part of it, but like you know. So it was just something that, but it never kind of caught fire, to say it like that. So, and people want to say whatever they want. It's like with Nocturnal Breed, people insist calling it, black thrash. I never once in my whole life thought about it as black thrash. I think about it as, thrash metal with
Mhm.
an emphasis on metal, and thrash in their separate ways. So, but genres are genres. It doesn't matter really.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. It's interesting you mentioned Nocturnal Breed, because I was gonna say like with the sound of Nocturnal Breed, it's like Iron Maiden and Priest had a baby that was on like crack, and it's just like everything is turbocharged, and it's fucking brilliant.
Thank you, mate. It's that's what it is. It is like a melting pot of everything we had in our heads when we grew up, with all the metal stuff, which is a mixture of thrash and metal and all that stuff and all the big bands, that everyone likes. And that's what came out of, birthing that through us. When we were kind of honest with ourselves too, saying like, okay, we're not going to do a parody because and I know some people think about it as a parody, but of course it's not made in that sense. We just let's see how much inspiration we can get and see how close we can get to that fucking thing, that existed, 10 years or not even 10 years when we did Nocturnal Breed. It was only like 6, 7 years ago since that whole thing died out. So it was a bit closer, but yeah, no, that's how it is.
And quickly on the Nocturnal Breed topic, Alcoholic Rights. At the end of that song, there's a burp.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but I want to know how, what, why.
Oh, we were it's one of those few times, and it actually worked out that time. We were just fucking drunk and stoned out of our minds through the whole fucking process from the first to the last second. And all the noises you can hear on the album, it came organically there by just having party people around. We had a lot of friends around. We were drinking, they were drinking. The only one who didn't drink was Thomas, the guy who was actually engineering the fucking thing. And he was sober. And like around 11 o'clock in the evening, like when a bottle or two of with tequila was gone, it was like, dudes, you just have to get the fuck out of the studio. So I don't remember half of it. I just can hear that, we're drunk doing shit around the studio. That's the
Yeah,
noise
yeah,
that came out.
because it's that really fine line between party band, but also really technically good as well.
Yeah,
And
it
I love
at
it.
least it developed into something pretty technical in the start. And even with the lyrics, we wrote the lyrics to sound like the old Destruction lyrics, so they are kind of dumbed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it really, like, after the first album or the second album, it was kind of like, nah, I have to kind of like put everything into this. And then I started really properly writing lyrics, and the guitarists started really properly going into it, And from the start, we used really good guitarists all the time. It was one of the main things that we wanted to stand, differently from Ara Noir or Bewitched or Swedish Gehenna or, those few other bands who were doing that stuff. So we said, okay, let's have guitars that fucking King Diamond would applaud. And some of those solos, at least when it started developing through the album, some of those solo works are insanely good, man.
Yeah, and that's why I love it so much, is because it's just great. I don't know what it is. It's like that. Yeah, it's probably like you said that all your inspirations into one spot, and it's so well done. Like every album sounds great. Like I like the production of all the albums, and just the guitar work is just right on, man. Like you can tell that it's just, yeah, it's good.
It's done with proper love, and a heart for that music and that kind of feeling. And And people keep forgetting that, the feeling is the whole fucking clue. It doesn't matter if you have a, 30,000 pound Jackson guitar. If you don't have the fucking feeling, that won't help you.
Yeah. No, of course, of course. And going actually speaking of guitars, like what guitars were used on the well, let's say like early Nocturnal Breed slash Gehenna to what you guys are using now?
Oh, fuck. Let's take the early Gehenna stuff.
Yeah.
It's whatever we could scrape together. It's fucking planks and shit and crap. And I don't even remember. I think my guitar, I had a guitar that I let, Sanab and Dolgar use. It was a Korean Applause guitar that cost like £100, something like that. Just like the crappiest shit. And I had got my dad to cut it out. So he cut out like the BC Rich bitch, or, the Warlock, no, the Warlock shape, you know, that Black always uses.
Yeah.
But if you cut that out of a normal guitar, it goes just so fucking small, so it looked like a fucking midget guitar. So we actually played on that shit. We took that, and all the guys had crap equipment. I had a John Hellborg bass. That is pretty cool. I understood later, but I bought it for nothing, and like £80, and it was super. You can hear the bass sound on those first two albums. It's really deep and really good,
Mm.
and I think that's because of that bass. The equipment in the studio was those shitty fucking guitars hooked up to PVs, 40 watts, 60 watts, nothing more than that. And we had Terje, the guy Terje Resnes, who produced the early Gehenna stuff with us, and did engineering and everything. He was such a good producer, and that's where the whole clue is. Same thing with the Pitten and Grieghallen and all the albums that comes out of there. These guys know how to fucking put microphones around the room. They don't use one microphone. There's two microphones on your speaker. There's one in the other side of the room. There's all kinds of little tricks to kind of like make this sound much bigger and more expensive than what it is.
Yeah.
That really helped out. And we did the same thing with the early Nocturnal Breed stuff too. It's just like shit fucking equipment. And since we had Ed Damnator, which is Silenos from Dimmu Borgir, of course, like during '96, Dimmu Borgir was started to really take off, So compared to us, he was just fucking showing up suddenly one day at rehearsal with a brand new Jackson. It's like, dude, fuck you, man. So there is some use of his Jackson guitar, I know, around on those, from the second album and out. Shit equipment and brilliant, use of microphones. And so it's properly the old school way, you have to capture the sound in the room.
Mm.
And we did weird shit, like we had an old like metallic, it was actually a radio made of metal or steel or some kind of metal kind of stuff. And we used that, so we had a metal zone, and I put my guitar into the metal zone into the radio thing into a Mesa Boogie old bass amp. So the guitar straight into a bass amp, and then we had like several microphones on that. And that's the aggressor sound, that we had on that first album. As well as, Silenos or Ed Dominator, he has such a fucking bad eyesight, so he was for some reason he was in charge of tuning the guitars. So that entire aggressor album is recorded in F. It's
Okay.
not recorded in E,
Oh,
because we didn't find out until Astenu came in to do the lead guitars, and he was halfway into Triumph of the Blasphemer, and he was like, "Mate, so something's fucking wrong here." I was like, "Oh, what?" Everyone was like, kind of like looking up from their beers and tequilas, and like, "What? Is anything wrong?" Like, "Yeah, mate." And it's like, "Oh, fuck, the whole thing is tuned in F." So that album sounds completely different from anything else, you can get.
yeah, because that was gonna, yeah, we're kind of going with all of these questions I was going to ask you because I know you've done some engineering in the past, and you've also didn't you do like some work with like events as well?
Oh yeah, I did a lot of that. 10 years I worked just big concerts, as a roadie, as a stage dude, all kinds of things, like the massive big ones from Tina Turner to Rolling Stones kind of thing. And that's, that helps fucking opening every fucking perspective you have about music, and you get to see like the proper big ones and everything down. I worked for things like Cranberries, for example, as well. And, all those kind of bands, like worked for Fish, from Maryland. He was a really nice guy. He's been known to be a fucking dick, but he was really nice. I've cleaned Lemmy's bass a couple of times and got that set up and so, just cool shit. I put Eddie's fucking head up 2 times.
Yeah.
That's, how cool is it when you're standing there and there's a fucking 18-wheeler rolling in and open the back of the door and there's this humongous fucking flight case and it's Eddie's fucking head. And he's like, this is going up on stage, mate. And there's like, 10, 15 blokes having to get that fucking thing up. This doesn't get better than that. I don't even need money for that, Fucking give me a beer. I've just been hanging out with Eddie, the actual fucking Eddie.
That's great. And then bringing it to engineering and that side of things. So, I know you've taken some part in the engineering side. Was that more just for like guitar and bass specifically, or is it more kind of like mixing, or just like more creative on the producing side?
All of the above, everything. It's been so many years. I started like getting into music like properly in a rehearsal kind of room kind of thing from 86 around there. So, and there's always been a mixer around. There's always been talk about demos and how to do things, and you talk to older people and you learn and you pick up stuff. And so I've done all of the above many, many times in many strange fucking places and ways, which is also a very good learning experience, when you have to use shit equipment in a strange room to figure out, okay, that's why the old demo sounds so fucking cool, people had to just use whatever the fuck you had around. And I think that's really charming, even if you go to like stuff like the old more the British demos from Paradise Lost or My Dying Bride or stuff like that too. It's like it's got that feel and it's that do-it-yourself kind of thing. And from there to doing the super big productions, going to studio with Satyricon and which was like a massive fucking the biggest studio we had in Norway at that time, and to doing things myself here in the forest, making a kind of studio kind of thing up here. So no, I like doing all of it, and it inspires me. There's other bands who ask me, to come around sometimes to do things and listen to them. It's just fun. It's just like music is kind of fun to be around, no matter what.
Cool, yeah. And then what would you say for new bands now who are trying to get their sound? And it's quite open-ended, but it's more the case of because I'm one of those people now that's thinking like, yeah, I want to like in my recordings, I want to get more of that organic kind of room sound kind of thing. And then there's obviously going to be people out there who are looking for a more kind of like tighter guitar sound, or people who are looking for that more kind of old school, kind of like open grand sound. Like, what kind of tips do you have for people when it comes to like mic placements or even like gear and equipment?
Of course, with mic placements, the closer you get to that mic, the tighter the less room you're gonna have. And you can use several mics. And I think it's a bit important to have at least some idea of where you want to go. And it's nothing wrong about listening to other bands and have references, like let's say I've been always like super kind of like in love with the sound of Don't Break the Oath with Merciful Fate and Fatal Portrait, the first King Diamond albums. Both of them have like the same kind of shit going on with the guitars. And I've been trying my whole life, trying to get that shit, figuring out, oh, yeah, maybe it's using a little bit of, flanger here. And there's some echoes there. And I try with some microphones back and forth. And it's that experimenting phase and actually taking a bother to take a couple hours to do that stuff and try to record and try to move it around. It's really fucking boring. And it helps if you have a friend around who can just push fucking record for you. So, yeah. But, it's experimentation and don't fucking ever plug and play. I hate you can't do that. Don't buy a PC or go home and plug your guitar into that. That's this. Everyone who knows something about music can hear that. That hyper electric kind of fuss that comes from that. So you use like you have, I can see you have amps and all the stuff behind you, so use those. They're there to kind of throw music into the room, and there's a big difference. The sound you get from a microphone 1 meter away from that and 3 meters in the corner when the sound has bounced around. If you want to go a little old school battery, put your microphone in the corner. Do that stuff. If you want to go burst something, then you can just start singing in use microphone headsets, use the equipment, the stuff it's not supposed to be used for, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's what I learned from. I've been to Gohil and recorded there, and the same thing with Terje, which we used with Gehenna and stuff too. They were like inventive dudes. So okay, we need some thunder. How can we make thunder? You start shaking around on shit on the walls, till you find thunder, and you pitch it down a little, and all sounds you make yourself, and that just kind of experiment with it. That's what I would say. Just don't just go for the software. We did that with the Napalm Nights album with Nocturnal Breed, and that's the album we're the least pleased with because it's
Hmm.
just like plugins on top of plugins, and it's okay, but
Hmm.
sounds like it is of its time, and I didn't really want that. I didn't want an album that sounded like 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting point because I've never actually thought of it like that because I think what you've explained is like the difference between recording and sound design as well because it's like every album, yeah, it's like every album that's special has a design to it, has something really really
That,
special. Yeah,
that's
and
what you hear from old albums, there
yeah.
you go sit down and it's like, wow, Power Slave sounds fucking like Power Slave, or any other album, even like Justice for All really sounds like Justice for All because they did shit, that only they could do in that room with that equipment. So it's up to their fucking heads, to and your ears to actually listen and figure out. Another advice I have to people is like, if you have way too fucking expensive equipment, just remember that 80% of the people that's gonna listen to your stuff, they're playing this on shit equipment and car speakers and fucking Bluetooth one speaker in the corner shit. So it doesn't matter if you have 50,000 pounds serving Vega speakers. Play that shit in your car, or preferably an old car, or dick around a bit with the sound because it will not sound like it does in that super duper mega fucking thing. So that's another thing I learned was like every 4 or 5 days, all the guys in the band, like in the old days, you actually got a cassette with you home. Not even a CD, but you got a cassette with you home, and then go home and everyone listens to it, and you come back with all these ideas, how you can change it around. And then sometimes you come back and say, "Oh, wow, I can't hear the bass, but in the studio we can really hear the bass." And you make those kind of adjustments too. Don't get kind of stuck in a little office room with two speakers.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. And that led me on to another question. Like, what do you like in a mix personally? Like, do you like the louder guitars, or like the like a more like the drums kind of like down here and a bit like further back? Do you like the vocals close, or do you like the vocals far? Like, how do you like it?
Well, I can tell you what I don't like.
Yeah.
And that's what's been going on the last 25 years when it comes to sound engineering, production. Fuck all, it sounds when I put on, and some people probably gonna get pissed, but if I put on Cannibal Corpse, Destruction, Sodom, Testament, and a bunch of like the bigger black metal bands, it sounds like everyone's been kind of like just crammed through the same fucking equipment and spat out on the other side, kind of just soulless, flat, and dead. And to me, it's of course, to me, my ears can hear all the fucking plugins and all the fucking shit that's going on. And what I like is, of course, I like the organic sound. And that doesn't mean you can't use drum machines, for example. You have bands like Ministry. Old Ministry is beautiful, even though it's like super fucking just like electronic and technical, but there is an organic thing there, and it's that production, that. And I have like one thing I go back to always, and I could probably take 90% of all the albums that came out the last 25 years, and I would say, put some fucking reverb on that fucking thing. It's too dry. It just, but that's my personal taste. I grew up super kind of 70s, 80s kind of music style. So I love when things just like swimming in reverbs and echoes and shit. But that's, if you want to make old Norwegian black metal, it's swimming in that because we had so shitty fucking equipment. So to make that, 100-pound guitar and 40-watt TV fucking thing work, you use a lot of reverb. You have a shitty Casio keyboard thing that, that you buy in a fucking toy shop, put some reverb on it, and you're gonna get the Dark Throne Soulside Journey keyboard, the sound, that proper kind of like black metal, old death metal keyboards that are so fucking crappy but so fucking kind of horror movie and cool. Yeah, you don't have to buy a Roland, for 20,000 pounds for that. Doesn't
Yeah.
buy an old Casio and put some fucking reverbs on it. I guarantee you will be happy.
No, for sure. It's like we've gotten into a time because even I've been kind of guilty of this. We've gotten into a kind of period where it all becomes about what you have rather than what you do with what you have. And
Yeah,
that's the big thing. It's like come on, like I admittedly I was a 16-year-old kid who wanted to make my guitar sound like Archaon. I wanted that. I wanted Revelation of the Black Flame. I wanted that guitar tone. When he's playing like Serpentine Sibilance on the album, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. But then I
yeah,
realized after a while, like that's not me. That's not what I want from a guitar sound. It's what I like, but it's not me, kind of thing. And
yeah,
there was a time where I was like chasing so much gear to try and get that, but then I was like, hang on a minute. But I like this stuff more, and it's a little bit different to what he does. And and I'm one of those people that's like, I've got all of this stuff here, but I don't like spending too much money on gear. I say that with a wall of gear behind me, but but it's like if I
that's a fucking oxymoron.
yeah, it's like it's like if I want to play guitar, it's because I need to find a use for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Or it's got to be something that's so special that I just have to have it, kind of thing. But
yeah,
I definitely think it's more exciting to have someone who's a bit more of a creative thinker rather than a nice sound in a way, because you can get a nice sound from
yeah.
anything if you know what you're doing.
The clue I think is that people should kind of think about is that I'm sure maybe if you're a bit younger and you like more of the stuff that's been coming out the last 20 years, maybe not, but for a lot of us, at least half the music you love the most in the world was made on shit equipment in a shit room, with half drunk fucking teenagers. That's the shit we love. So why the fuck are we going off on these fucking spaceships, that cost fucking millions, and we try to make that old shit? It's like, and I've seen bands coming into studios like, yeah, we're gonna sound like Led Zeppelin. Well, you have to throw away all your equipment and you have to start again because you can't fucking make Led Zeppelin on a brand new Ibanez guitar, or it won't fucking be like that. You have to like do some of that old stuff. So my kind of like preaching is that people kind of like get a little bit away from all that focus on the equipment. And so I've been watching, or I was watching for a while until I had to go like get out of the whole thing. I was watching Devin Townsend's podcast kind of thing, and he was going through building his studios and talking about his albums, and I can respect all the stuff he's doing, the way he's want to do different projects and different sounds and all this kind of stuff. But the last year there, before I just like threw his whole channel away, was he got so fucking into the equipment. It just like took over everything, and it was kind of like just running the albums and running. It's like, fuck, this is just dying. Even though it's like super equipment kind of based music, I understand that part, but it just got super uninteresting. The whole thing, it just drowned in the whole thing.
Hmm. Yeah, that I can totally understand. Because I think so many people are trying to chase something, and then it all becomes too. Yeah, it's trying to get away from sterile sounds in a way.
And there's a good analogy that happened like 20 years ago about like when the Pantera craze was at its biggest. Have you any idea how many fucking twats out there I sat down and like, yeah, I'm gonna have the dime bag sound, and I'm gonna do all. None of them fucking made it anywhere. None of they are fucking fat AC/DC dads, all of them. Hello. They're, that's what happened, because half the world tried to be either that or they're gonna be Korn or Marilyn Manson or whatever the fuck people try to be.
Mhm.
And a bit the same with black metal, but because there's a lot of young people and young people don't have fuck all money, it's easy to make black metal. So there's a bigger percentage of black metal actually making it into it. Same thing with like punk music, every genre where you can go crap, you know, it's easier to make it into it, it's compared to, for example, pop music when you're just like, that's, going for a fucking lost dream kind of thing, if you're going to try to make it in the pop industry.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very, very interesting point. And on the gear side of things, what are you using then? Like what guitars and basses do you have?
I have a Les Paul guitar that I have customed it over some years. It's a Les Paul 2. I don't remember you know, I'm not an equipment dude, so I have no idea about the numbers and it's got some numbers and letters. But I've taken that away to a custom make them, so it's like super black and with basses. There's been BC Rich basses, normal Fenders. I have a super cool Flying V, black Flying V Dynasty bass from 1981, 1982. They're
Oh, no
pretty
way.
rare.
A Westone Dynasty
It's,
bass.
yeah,
Holy sh-
they're like you can't fucking get them anymore. It's just like it's hanging outside in my studio, like in another building next to here. It's like, yeah, and that's a nice one. And I got a Yamaha one that it's kind of like a studio bass that I'm custom making now for the Gehenna show. Because if you're not gonna give me sponsor money, I'm not gonna play with your fucking brand. I've been playing live for like 35 years. And we are working with some sponsors and we will be kind to them, but if people haven't sponsored me, apart from Les Paul,
Hmm.
I haven't got anything against Les Paul, so I'm gonna be nice there. But I got a bunch of instruments where I just like I take away the brand name and I do my own thing. Now we're gonna have printed like the first spell kind of thing, like up on the head on the guitar, stuff like that.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I just have fun with it, man.
Yeah, that's cool. And is that the only guitar you have then, the Les Paul? Because you've mentioned the basses. What other guitars you have? Was it just that Les Paul?
No, like now I only have like two guitars now. I have the Les Paul and I have a Yamaha, uh, kind of fire colored wood Flying V, and I have a really old Spanish acoustic guitar and a mandolin.
All right.
That's all I got now, like on the guitar side, and I've gotten by with that the last 10, 15 years with those two guitars.
I didn't know. Yeah.
But
I didn't know Yamaha did the Flying V. Was it Yamaha you said? Did the Flying V? No. Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't
it's an
know.
old one.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's
Yeah.
tough. But that Westone Dynasty base, that's special, man. Because I'm a big fan of Dark Space, and for
Yeah,
years
yeah,
I had no idea what Tobias was playing, and it turned out to be a Dynasty, a Westone Dynasty, and I've been looking for one of them for a while. And I know that they're already rare. Like to get one of those in nice condition is difficult, but to get a base Dynasty, that's dope.
oh, it's cool, and it's very good condition too. It's the arm is getting a little bit banana shaped, but
Hmm.
that can be fixed by just a few pounds. So it's a very cool, and you feel it's kind of stupid thing, but I I grew up with all the heavy metal. You feel cool when you're playing that thing. It fits really well, like all V guitars should. They should sit kind of like boom. Okay, let's fucking go for it. It's something different than just like an old Fender bass that weighs 5 kilos and it's fucking horrible to be around. Or all of those, I'm sure a lot of people out there know, all the BC Riches. You put it on you and you'll go on stage and you take your arms up like that, and your BC Rich is gonna go boom straight into the
Ah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
ground. Those
Yeah.
front heavy kind of, iron things to weigh just like everything. And if you go from there and you go to like a perfect Jackson, like there's a reason why Dave Mustaine fucking plays like he does. You know, he needs a proper fucking Jackson. He can do it on a crap fucking Fender too, but you know, when he's got that thing, the Dave Mustaine thing happens. You know.
Mm. Yeah, and do you find V shapes and spiky guitars in more playable in general? So I normally find when I play guitar normally like this, I keep it on here. I normally get like weird like cramps and pains there, but I have to play it like this so that I'm comfortable, and I can't play what I want to play properly like this, but I can play exactly how I need to when it sits right. Does that happen with you? Like, do you just find?
I play exactly like you. I have it between my legs, like your second option there. You know, between having stuck between my legs, so I can kind of like I don't know. It just becomes a part of me when I'm sitting like that. And I have this thick book called Millennium, and I have that under my right foot. So put something under your right foot, so you get it like 6-7 centimeters up, and it just test it. It just feel it. Then it just like boom, it pops in place with the way you have the guitar between your legs, kind of thing.
Cool. Oh, I have
So
to try.
yeah,
Yeah. I'll have
do that. Just put like yeah, just put Lord of the Rings. You know the classical Lord of the Rings version. Put that on your foot and test it out.
Cool. I'll give that a go. I'll give it a go. And bringing things back to first spell, the artwork is that you guys and someone just took a photo with a horse, or is that taken from somewhere?
Oh, it's not just someone like randomly taking a photo.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
very planned out.
Yeah.
It's super planned out. We wanted like all the Gehenna albums up until like some of the recent ones, but all the Gehenna albums is original photo artwork. We wanted to have our own thing and not have the drawings like everyone else had. A bit, back to we want to be dark metal and our own club kind of thing again. But it's yeah, it was planned out. It's like it's only 10 minutes from where we rehearsed. There's this little hill and a water thing. There's this big oak, and on the picture is Dolgar is the one sitting on the horse, and Dirgrep is the one standing with the horse. So it's them. It was a brilliant idea, and the colors is the whole thing. That the gray color on that one is just like the perfect gray, if it's possible. It turned out like actually like a goth cover almost.
Yeah. And the coloring, was that done by the photographer, or did you use like an old camera to an old black and white camera, or yeah, just
I know he used a proper camera, and I think he developed it properly too, like in a developing room. But apart from that, it was sent to Metallian, and whatever Metallian did with it, I don't know, but it turned out great.
oh, do you guys happen to have like a photo copy, an actual copy of the original photo without all the edits?
Yeah, we have several. We have the whole session. There was a bunch of pictures taken. But yeah, there's a
Cool.
bunch of stuff.
Do you think you'd ever release those?
Actually, I'm not sure we haven't looked at like the final layouts, but there is a book, Gehenna book coming out on Darkness Shall Rise Records in Germany, which will be like I don't know, 250-page book about Gehenna, and we just like gave them a ton of pictures. So, and it will be a lot of those pictures in there. So I think some of those originals will be in there as well. They're
Wicked.
very close. The gray color is there, from the original ones.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's cool. I'm going to keep an eye out for that when the book is out. And another thing I wanted to ask about is the origins of your name. So Svartalv and slash Destroyer. How did you come up with it? And then where did the Destroyer thing come from?
Who do you want to know first? Well, the Svartalv one came just from needing a name with Gehenna. And I had a period in the start where I used torture with just a U with two of those dots
Hmm.
over, torture in a way. I had coronas a little bit, and when I lived in Oslo before I came to Gehenna, but none of that kind of fitted in. And I was just reading through Old Norse kind of mythology creature kind of things that was present in like Viking Age and early medieval kind of times. And then, Svartalv was there, and I read up about it, and it's not one of those cute fucking, nice little elves. It's the elves that the Vikings and were scared of. So it just felt nice. And it's strange with those things. You go looking for names, and it pops up. If it's right, it will pop up, and it will just suit you and fit you, and it becomes you, and you become it. And like now, more than 30 years later, like 32, 33 years later, it's like that name has become me, and it's been in my passport for 25 years, and it just becomes you. So that just felt very right. But when I started Nocturnal Bleed, I did that because I was on a Satyricon tour with Nemesis Divina, and we could just see how the whole scene kind of was changing. This was like in the start of 1996. And it didn't really feel nice. I was irritated and pissed off about the whole thing. I wanted it to be grimmer and darker, and the whole reason why I joined Satyricon even was I wanted like deeper fucking into the dark forest, and Satyricon went Nemesis Divina, which isn't quite like that deep into the fucking forest again. So everything just felt a bit strange and wrong. So I just, for a long while, I didn't kind of want to be that associated with the whole thing. So I just took a new name, started a new band, and I don't know. That name became me too, to put it like that. So I don't use it that much anymore.
Mm.
But Destroyer came out of listening to Twisted Sister while I was shit drunk on red wine. Basically, that was it. Just kind of one of those. Fucking hell, I like that one. I was playing the Destroyer song from Twisted Sister, and it's like, yeah, fucking hell, I do that. And you know, so it wasn't any deep fucking, spiritual kind of thing going on there.
Yeah, because I remember like looking in early 1349 albums and seeing in like YouTube captions it's like video created by SA Destroyer, and I was like, who's the Destroyer? Like, who is this guy that's writing the lyrics? And then it wasn't until I found out like browsing the metal archives a few years later, it's like, oh, okay, cool, that's sick. So it kind of like eluded me for a few years when I was getting into this kind of genre. And talking about lyrics now, so when you write lyrics, is your normal process is that you have the music first and then you write the lyrics, or do you write the lyrics to the music, or is it like vice versa, or do you prefer one of the other?
I can do all of them. That really depends. What I like the most is if people give me a theme and I just write the lyrics without listening to anything. Of course, I will know what the band is like. So, for example, like for 1349s, where I write the whole album, then I get all the tapes or the MP3s from the guys, which is basically first I hear like Arkan's guitar riffs, only the guitar riffs, and that's the tape that goes to Frost as well. And already from there, I'm getting like a notion of, okay, this is the direction we're going here, kind of thing. And at the same time, Raven is just talking to me from the side, explaining what he wants out of this. Like the last album, everything was about like the much deeper sub levels of alchemy. Uh, okay, there we have like a theme for the whole album. Then I start studying, and I study a little bit online, but I'll still like books. So I'm like, there's books all around, pictures, kind of shit. I just like nerding on it. So I nerd for a while the guys just send me this like rehearsal stuff, which is only Arkin and Frost playing. Oh, and it just then I just get a notion from that. But mostly I just put all the songs away and I just go. I'm a kind of person, I need a title to really get going. I can write all kinds of shit, but I love having a title because a title will give me, just like you said, like looping back to what you started with, like Gehenna is like little stories. Each song is like a full-on little novel kind of thing. You can kind of dive into a tiny little movie. And that's what I grew up with the Iron Maiden and King Diamond and all kinds of things. You can put on one song and you're just transported somewhere. So, and that's what I want to do when I create lyrics. So I get a title, And from that title, it only takes seconds. It's weird that when that title kind of is like, oh yeah, I will use that. Boom, the whole thing explodes in my head, and I can just go for it. It's just like it's there. It just comes. That's where
Okay,
the magic is, you know.
cool. And then that's your creative process then, is to just like do you lock yourself away to write the lyrics, or is it a bit more open where you write something or a lot of things and then you bring it back down or change bits?
Yeah. So what I do is like, since I'm like super nerd, I have been collecting, and I actually do this every day. I write down all the shit that comes into my head of good ideas, little sentences. At least as long as I'm alone, I can take 4 hours watching a movie because little words and sentences would trigger shit in my head. And I write probably like at least a couple of word pages every day, just random stuff from all kinds of things, ideas from my book projects, for different feelings within different kind of band kind of things. But it's not directed at anything. It's just like, so I have like now, I think I have this thing I call the Grand Archive, which is just a Word file, and there's about 300-400 pages there. So I know, of course, in beforehand that an album is coming. So I just start going through that, at least like with the 1349 thing. Raven gives me the topic of the album, and I start just going through that thing. And I take out all the sentences and all the little twists and turns. I think like, wow, yeah, it just stands out to me for some reason. And I, take all that over to another Word document, and from all that stuff, and I have a list of like 600-700 song titles. So I just spend days looking at these things, picking out stuff that really stands out and shines, and from there I just go putting the songs or the lyrics together. So it's very nerdy, super nerdy, the whole thing.
Yeah, because there's one lyric of yours which is I forgot how much I liked it, and it's "breathing is a disgusting habit"
Yeah.
from Maggot Thesis. Like, oh, like I remember seeing that as like in my teen years, and I was like, dude, that's cool. And now I just was going through like a whole bunch of your lyrics again, and I was like, oh,
But
that's
you know what
so
what
great.
what lays behind that? You have the first kind of notion that you got there, and you have the notion to that, people are fucking disgusting, and we breathe each other's air all the time. But the underlying line there, so it's like sub levels under other sub levels, because that's a sentence I probably had around for 10, 15 years before I used it. So I nerded the fuck out on that one fucking sentence. So the super sub level there is like, oxygen is what kills you. From the second you pop out of your mom, oxygen is what kills us. That's what kills everything around us, make everything rot, you know. That's like the sub level of that sentence. But it's cool that you picked that one out, because I
Yeah,
remember putting
yeah,
it in. It's like, yeah.
yeah, and it's just like there's it's just loads of cool twisted stuff in your lyrics. Like I've literally just got like I just had this in front of me. I was just reading through it last night. Like if we take through slaves, for example, something it was a line to do with hyenas. I'm just trying to find it again. Rot of humanity as their males birth death and female hyenas, ultra disciplinary suffering, the inner strata discipline, the slave shall serve. Like I just want to get like a bit more of like the thought process behind slaves, because I can't figure like who are the slaves. I've never been able to figure that out. Like is it people just slaves to themselves, their minds? Is it like a lack of purpose? Is it the outer world and being a slave to the world that you're born in, like a slave to the cosmos? Like just tell me a bit more about it, because
It is like the other one. It's like multifaceted, sub-leveled, and like with everything I write, I like that other people can just take it and use it for whatever it fits you, that kind of thing. But slaves for me, it's just humanity. As if it's that, that's what we do. We've been doing this fucking forever. We're still slave. We're slave to the system. People don't want to sit in a fucking shitty gas station and work there 10 hours a day, man. We're fucking slaves. Everything is slaves. And I just discussed it down to a level where it just gets like super, like you see the way I write there. Yeah, I just twist the words until it just kind of seems disturbing, if you know what I mean. So like it's supposed to trigger you, but when I write the lyric like that, I've spent many days writing it, and it's words that I've been thinking about for years. And then they take on, that's the occult part for me of doing this, is that it takes on kind of magic for me. I don't necessarily decide what's going to be there in what, in what way it's going to be there. It just like starts, not literally, of course, moving around on the page, but it's like I just put things around and it's like, shit, wow. And it starts popping out and the meaning starts coming, and it just like, there's an own little life in itself. And especially with a lot of the black metal lyrics I've written for different bands and my own things and everything, it's like there is little journeys. And when I come out of that journey, I'm a little bit smarter or a little bit more inspired or, experienced in a way. Of course, I've been like nerding like fuck out of one thing. And, that's the nice, that's why I write shit, because it's not like there's millions of fucking money in this thing. So it's just I write it because of that thing, especially like when a thing comes together, it's like tapping into the occasion records or that kind of feeling thing.
Mm. Yeah, because there was one song I wanted to speak to you about as well. Actually, a couple actually. One of them was Rotterdam to Rotterdam of Hellfire.
Yeah.
It's like is that what you did to come up with that? It was like I don't know, you had like rotten somewhere, but you needed something more, and then it was like I don't know, maybe you're thinking about like domination or just I don't know something dumb or freedom or something. Like how did you come up with that title to Rotterdam?
I would just put one word out: kingdom.
Hmm.
Kingdom, Rotterdam. And for people who, if you if you look around at my lyrics, the word rot and rotten and rotting comes out in so many twisted ways. I just love the word rotting. I've done since I was a kid. I
Yeah.
just love putting it in there, and I like then I have to twist it around a little bit. Then Rotterdam is like kingdom, Rotterdam. Yeah, it's perfect. And like yeah, that's again almost back to slaves. It's how I look at this fucking I'm a bit nihilistic and that's the way I look at this shit place and a lot of the stuff we've been doing for hundreds and thousands of years.
Hmm. And another song I wanted to ask about is Mengeles because it's like dinner at Mengeles. Like that's a like I had no I thought I was like when I was listening to it for the first time. How old was I when Massive Cauldron came out? I was 19 when Massive Cauldron came out.
At least you weren't fucking 10 or something. You shouldn't listen to fucking dinner at Mengeles when you're 10.
But it was like yeah, like the song was called Mengeles, and I didn't know what that was, and then I found out that oh, it was actually a Nazi general. Okay, and then I looked into lyrics, and I was like, dinner at Mengeles, and I was like, dinner, dinner. Like for me, like it was such a I don't know, kind of a chaotic thing to thought about because dinner, like I love food, I love to eat. Like dinner is a very positive thing. Yeah, but like just having I don't know, like a black metal band having dinner as one of the lyrics at Mengeles, then it's kind of like oh, this like you said, like that sub level of darkness. It's like dinner with the Nazi general. It's like dude, that's gonna be fucking weird. Like
Yeah, but you see exactly the way you reacted to it.
yeah,
There you go, mate.
yeah,
When you put those things together and you get words that normally people associate with so nice things and stuff, and you put these things together, with Mengele, and you start picturing yourself being at the dinner at Mengele's, are you the dinner?
yeah.
Or, and all the stuff. And there was, all this, it's based on all these high-end Nazis, and their wives, and the massive fucking insane dinner parties with little orgies, and you have some Jew skin lamps, and there's like, it's just like the whole world going fucking wrong inside this, and it's all very dandy and nice, and very nice food, and everyone is like, you know what I mean? That kind of mix there. It's
Hmm.
thick and twisted and backwards, and it's like, and it's fascinating too, and it's like, yeah, just tapping into that, and it's, in this scene, it's like walking a razor's fucking edge doing that thing. And I've done it with Nocturnal Breed as well, with like the Bitch of Buchenwald
Uh,
and Sharks of the Wehrmacht and Shadow of the Iron Cross. All of those four are like, for me, I'm just a history buff. I just love history, and I grew up in a family that was a big part of like the war and all that stuff. So I really grew up with it. But I can see how some people is like, oh fuck, this is borderlining. But
yeah,
it's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be shocking tales from history. It's like, it's real, man. It's fucking happened.
yeah.
So it's nice to be able to tap into it without having anyone with a shotgun outside my door yet.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, and one other song I wanted to mention is Psalm 777, because I think that's one of the only set of lyrics that you've written for 1349 entirely in Norwegian, and I think actually wait, this is testing my 1349 trivia here, that it's the only Norwegian uh, song from 1349's discography except for Dødskamp, but even that has English lyrics. But that was
Okay.
Archaon and that was Archaon and Sideman writing those lyrics. But I believe they also made a Norwegian version as well. So Psalm 777, because that's one of my favorite all-time songs ever. And I've like my a friend of mine actually translated some of the got a friend of his to translate the Norwegian lyrics into English. But one of the translations, and it might be a rough translation, is "Brothers in Satan, take your place by your father's throne. Doomsday harps harrow the lands of hell-flayed bodies berserking into the pitch-black wasteland with a steel whip and hedonistic law."
It sounds very different in Norwegian because the whole clue with that song is that I play with words and make up words and word twists almost through the whole thing. So putting that through translation is almost impossible. I would have to sit next to you, and we have to take it word by word, and I have to explain how I twisted the Norwegian thing, and then we can do the English thing. That's
Yeah.
how kind of like into it I got with that. That song is something weird. I don't remember much from writing it at all. It's just there in the universe. I see the guys playing it all the time. I think I even made a video, a couple of the live videos kind of thing with it. Yeah, and it's weird. It's just like ultra possession. That song is, it's just possession. I
Yeah.
can't really do more than just like whatever you get from it, ride with it. That's the words, how it came out, what it is about. I don't know what it's about. It's just I grew up with, from when I was 9. I grew up with like a, a nice family and stuff, but they weren't much around. So I grew mostly up with like people 25 years older than me. So I got really like told or initiated into the whole Alistair Crowley thing when I was around 9.
Hmm.
And and LeVay and all that stuff. We hated him because, of course, but I was like on that LeVay, no, the Crowley kind of thing.
Hmm.
And that kind of like Psalm 777 is, in a sense, comes through this dude that I grew up with like 20 hours in the day almost for like 15 years, which was like a junkie, occultist. And all the things he talked about kind of just comes through that lyric in his mad way, twisted way, the sick way. So I don't know. Some of those songs feels like you're writing a curse, and you don't really know if it's a good thing putting it out into the world. And I think that's one of those lyrics that, if things kind of reflects and hit back at you, like with witchcraft 3 times kind of thing, that's not a good one to have, have out there with my
Mm-hmm.
blood on it in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's pure madness, like pure madness. The whole song is.
When writing for 1349, do you think of the lyrical patterns, or do you kind of leave that with Raven, or do you just write the words, or do you go through things together? Just explain a bit more about that. Like,
Well, one of the first lyric I wrote for them was "Blood is the mortar,"
hmm.
uh, and that one I actually made a pre-prod demo where so there is a version I have, in my archives where I sing on that one. And I've been actually pushing Raven a bit to kind of like, you can use that as a bonus track for something, if you want to do that. And so there, I just like word by word explained to him how I wanted the lyrics to kind of sit with the music. But after that, we know each other so well, and he started out as my light tech for Nocturnal Breed. That's how we met each other, and that's was round about when 1349 got started. Or a little bit before that. So I know him very well, and the last actually after like that first song, I just write stuff because I know the way he kind of attacks. He has a very distinct way of attacking, the lyrics and everything, and it just I don't know if there's some kind of mind connection. It just fits every time. It's rarely more than a couple of sentences we twist around and move around, and it works. And it's good at just taking. But I don't write a bunch of words. I put it together so there's like, how can I put this? It when he gets it, it looks like a proper lyric. No, there's the chorus part is just as long in each place when it comes and it repeats. The words kind of rhyme in the same way. There's complete structure to it, so it's very easy for him to put it into things. And sometimes I just like I go through the song and it's like, well, there's five riffs and they kind of like repeat in this and that way. So I kind of put the lyrics in that kind of sort of way. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of a nice cooperation feeling that just works very well with him, especially.
Because that leads on to another question I was going to ask from Psalm 777, and this was something that a friend of mine picked up, and it's there's a line called like I believe the pronunciation in Norwegian would be Jordans Rotta. Because I know, isn't it in Norwegian that you pronounce the J's as like kind of like a Y sound, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Uh, yeah, the rats of the earth.
Gotcha. Because like in the song, it's pronounced with a hard J. It's like Jordans.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that your idea, or was it just Raven just doing his
No,
thing?
no, no. I have no like after they get the lyrics, it's like it's doing its own life. I don't do anything. I don't put anything into it at all. Most of the albums have been written and mixed and mastered way before I hear the first songs and stuff like that. So I just let him do his thing completely. So that's how his ideas. And I think for me, there's a little magic to it too. I just leave him a bunch of stuff and then I listen to it later going, oh, wow, oh, this is what came out of you this time kind of thing. So
Cool.
yeah, no, that's how we do it.
Cool. And with your vocals, how do you get that possessed sound? Kind of crazy thing you do in Nocturnal Breed. How do you do it?
Well, you have to be a little possessed then, of course. That's the whole clue. You have to fucking go for it. You can't half-ass anything. So I kind of like I whole ass it to put it like that. That's a lot of the stuff. Yeah, my voice, and I'm sure probably on this interview too, you can hear my voice going in and out, and it's kind of it gets raspy and all kinds of things because my voice box is completely fucked up from doing this nocturnal breed thing where I go from like death metal Lemmy to this screeching fucking witch kind of thing and everything in between and up and down and not being good at warming up and doing way too many shows in a row, kind of half fucked, and just kind of pushing it till there's nothing left in the voice. So, but it's mostly just like going for it more than you could ever kind of believe. A lot of the times when I'm on stage with Nocturnal Breed, I have this thing which is a shadow, and when that shadow gets closer and closer and closer, and it kind of goes, I know that if that flaps together, I'm gonna pass out. So I scream until that shadow is like around like here, and then I let off again. And I do that all the time when I'm on stage. So it's just about pushing yourself, and that's if people have seen me live, you probably see that I kind of like pour water over myself all the fucking time because singing like that just blows everything. I walk off that stage with headaches and migraines, and I'm completely fucked up after like an hour and a half show. And now, I start coughing. There's a lot of coughing going on because the voice box is all fucked.
And how do you cope with doing that in the studio? Because it's like if you've got time restraints.
Yeah. No, we just spread it out, you know. We do a bunch of other stuff, and I do a couple of vocals, and I wait till the next day, and I do a couple of vocals while the guys are doing some guitar. We just kind of mix it up like that, and sometimes I just went for it. Sometimes I just drink whiskey, you know, because you can get through a lot of stuff just drinking whiskey, and you have to wait a week till next time you put down the vocals. But then I got like 5 vocals down because I was drinking whiskey, and it's a bit. But I haven't been treating my voice nice at all. So I'm trying to train it up now because I want to do and finish off a bunch of my own things,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna do like the third vocals for Gehenna as well. So I need it to be up there, you know, and I work out. You know, got to try to get the cardio going and everything, you know. So now I'm doing like actual little vocal trainings uh, with normal singing, not you know screeching or anything, just normal singing to try to get my voice box back in shape because it is a muscle kind of thing, you know.
And how's that going?
it's it's going well, but it's one of those like I told my missus like it's one of the few things I really want to do just fucking by myself is those vocal trainings, you know. So I get in the car and I have especially I don't know why, but No Rest for the Wicked, the Ozzy Osbourne album from '88, I think. That just really resonates well with my voice box, and I can sing it really well the whole album through. So I do that. I sit in my car singing Ozzy Osbourne. That's basically my prep for the whole thing.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Nocturnal Breed, given that your guitarist passed away, is there any plans to, start the band again, or is it going to be like slowly fading out? Like, what's the future with Nocturnal Breed now?
Ben Hellions passing away didn't really have like anything to do with the band. He had left the band 10 years before almost. So he was like far away from that whole band thing. Uh, but it's Nocturnal Breed kind of stopped a bit by itself. It's not gone. I haven't put the band down or anything. It's there, but I need to feel something properly, if you know what I mean. And the last album we did, Carry the Beast, I did all the mixing and no, I did everything at home basically. And you know, the COVID came sneaking and all kinds of shit, you know. So it the whole process didn't feel well. The couple of guys that was in the band before this uh, didn't feel like any of it didn't kind of fit. I know it was my kind of problem as well. I hated the music scene to a point where going out playing with Nocturnal Breed was just total terror. I came home feeling like shit. So I just stopped it for a while. It will probably pop up again. Uh, I have music and songs and all kinds of stuff lined up for at least a couple of albums. That's not a problem. I just needed to feel right, and then the Gehenna thing kind of came in, and I just talked it over with myself and figure out like, okay, if I'm gonna do Gehenna, I'm gonna do it properly. So I'm gonna be part of the band. Like now, I'm part of the band, like a proper member, and I'm gonna do it fully for a couple of years. Also, in respect of all the people that like it and want to come and see us, and maybe we'll put together an album, you know, stuff like that. I really want to like put my energy into it. So after that, yes, I might pick up the Nocturnal Breed thing again. But also with Nocturnal Breed and being one of those quotation marks retro kind of sounding bands, there is no point being a band like this and release an album every fucking year. You're just gonna use all your juice is gonna just run the fuck out of your ass. It's better to have like 5, 6 years actually between the albums to really kind of like get that battery and those energies going. And you can hear that in some bands, you don't want 19 albums with Black Thrash, man. That's very fucking boring. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I understand that because that's how I feel sometimes when writing. So I'm in the process of writing some new music now with a Reshkor, and but I like to take my time with it because I need to make sure that every fucking note needs purpose and it needs like force and power behind it, and everything needs to be um, kind of uniquely disciplined in a way, in the sense that being very, very conscious that every song has to have something that's completely different to another song, and try not to copy like the same ideas and have build that individuality. So it's and I like it as well when bands take time as well. It's nice when a band has had an X amount of time to think about their album, and then when it's released, it sounds like they've had that long and they've thought about their album for that long, for example. And then the final results ends up being so much better for it rather than like, like you said, album next year, album next year, album. It's like, okay, but we need but it's losing something. It's
Yeah,
losing.
it's no point releasing like there is bands that release way too many albums, and it at the end you're starting to release like two good songs and the rest is fillers. There is no point to that at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Just wait until you got a good album. Don't release fucking fillers.
yeah,
I
yeah,
try to tell myself like we've done that with Nocturnal Breed. We have a couple of some of the albums are way too long and the songs are too long and there's too many songs on the albums and like I've learned the hard way. Like I picked up both here and there with stuff like that too. Like
yeah.
so, just take the time. And but you remember not to like get so. I have friends that did great fucking music, but they never got it out to people ever
Mm.
because they just got so fucking stuck with trying to just tweak everything, and it took 12, 15 years and it just died. And it's like, dude, if you released this in 1993, you would be big now. But it just was lost in a boys' room kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah, and it's a shame when that happens. It's like because yeah, admittedly, I've fallen into traps, but I mainly like that with the writing as opposed to the production kind of thing. So if it like sounds good, I'm like, okay, cool, let's leave it. But like with the writing side of things, it's like the way I like to write songs is like and think of albums and EPs and stuff. It's like everything, like it can't be complete if a song was missing, for example. It's
Yeah.
like it's designed to to be listened into a certain order, and it's not, and it's got to take the listener on like this on a journey, and basically everything needs to have like a kind of underlying purpose. Where if you take like what that part out of the song, it wouldn't work. Or if you take out this song on the EP, or yeah, to crafting the album as opposed to just making it kind of thing.
And people forget, that there is like a proper, master class kind of artwork thing going with like making a proper albums. Like people sometimes just laugh about like the old 80s metal albums. It's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's just Iron Maiden. If you're going to try to play like Iron Maiden or some of those bands that properly, in that order, in that way to make it fucking bounce along like it does, it takes fucking geniuses to do that kind of thing. They normally don't even realize that they are, but to make that kind of thing, and it's the way it's thought out, and it's like with food as well. It's pretty easy to make like a very kind of mushy kind of black metal thing with a lot of reverbs, and you can just keep piling on with keyboards and sounds and 50 layers of vocals and stuff. But fucking try playing AC/DC, man, and you will fuck up. Because it's like making food, you go to Gordon Ramsay and he will ask you to do something with a fucking egg, impregnated with an egg. It's that thing, you're taking it down to such, and I like that kind of thing sometimes too, to do music so simple that it will shine through if you're fucking up, like with Nocturnal Breed. If we had bad lead guitarists, it would fucking suck. Big hat, but you can't come to those things and there's like this, grandma fucking playing, it's like I like to do that kind of stuff, man.